Kevin Nash and Scott Hall against me and Ray. I had nothing to do in that match. Neither did
Yeah,
Scott Hall.
I remember.
But yet we were in the match. But here's the worst part. Ray loses his mask. Scott Hall doesn't lose anything. Kevin Nash doesn't lose anything. It Miss Elizabeth's hair.
Right.
It's like, what logic does that make?
Today's wrestlers, of course, again, it's a different breed. They're not on the road driving in the car 6-7 nights a week like they did back in your prime and when I started covering wrestling. So the thing is, today, I noticed both in WWE and AEW and Ring of Honor and probably in Mexico too, that everybody wants to be a high spot guy. Everybody does, I'll watch 2 hours of AEW and every match has got somebody going over the top rope and diving onto the other guys. What's your feeling about that?
Well, that's all lucha, bro. That's all lucha influence.
Exactly.
And and so what happened is that, kids were saying, okay, well, I could hit the ropes and do a drop kick like Hulk Hogan, but I don't have to be 6'5" anymore. I could be the size of Vickie Guerrero or Eddie Guerrero or Dean Malenko or Rey Mysterio, and they're doing really cool shit. That's what I want to do. So that a lot of them grew up wanting to do high flying shit. They knew they didn't have to be 6'5", 300 pounds anymore, right? Because Ray kind of broke that blueprint. Yes. Even though there were guys in the past like Ricky Starr that were small and they got over, but it was like one or two guys. This was a whole plethora of guys, at the same time. And that's why they came up with that junior weight division. But yeah, that's all lucha influence, and I'm proud of that. The problem is a lot of guys, they just watch tapes. They don't really practice lucha, and they go out there, and a lot of the shit looks really bad when you got a lot of people doing it. It's like the leg slap. If they did that only one time per match, nobody would even notice it.
Sure.
But now every match does it 5 times. So in one night, you've seen it 30 times. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, it used to be when somebody did a move in a match and there were 8 matches on the card, nobody else did that move.
Right.
Yeah. But now you see it all the time.
Right. Well,
it's not special.
Just, you got it.
I remember.
You got it.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
No, I remember one of my lucha heroes at the beginning, the mask is over there, was Mil Mascaras. So when he did the dive off the top rope, which it looked like a ballet there, nobody else on that card, at least in the United States, was able to do that. When Buddy Rogers or Ric Flair put on the figure 4 leg lock, nobody else did it. But now every match is so repetitive with people doing the same thing.
Let me ask you, because I'm going to tell you why. Because this is what they do nowadays. Not everybody, but the majority, okay? They see something that gets over, right? Like, let's say the Canadian Destroyer. And then they say, okay, he got a pop, I'm going to get a pop. Mm-hmm. So he does a Canadian Destroyer. And then another wrestler does a Canadian Destroyer. Now you're seeing all these Canadian Destroyers because everybody copies everybody. And it looks like one, from match 1 to 5, it's almost the same style. Everybody's doing the same thing. Where before everybody had their individuality and everybody had like a different style. Nobody copied anybody because you would actually get heat. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Why are you copying? Why are you biting my shit? Why are you copying my style, bro? Yeah. Now it doesn't matter. You can take people's finishes. You can, it's just a whole different mindset. And I'm like, bro, I don't want to sound like old man chasing the clouds. But at the end of the day, I respect what you guys are doing now, because in my day, I was one of the guys that helped establish the style from my era in Mexico. But there are things from the past that worked then and will work now. Let's implement them into what you're doing, because there's a lot of mistakes being made where the matches could be way tighter and better and more logical.
Now, do you think today's fan could sit for like a 1 hour Broadway 1 hour match when you have 2 like incredible wrestlers from the past, like Jack Briscoe against Dory Funk Jr.?
I don't think a casual fan would, and I don't believe maybe a hardcore fan.
Yeah. What?
It's a it's a different business. Everything's different. Everything's changed.
Totally.
from movies, the sports, they tell me something that hasn't. And at the end of the day, we like stuff we grew up with, maybe because we have fond memories of it. But I try to be very objective, and I compare what I'm seeing today and from my area, and most of the stuff from my area I thought was better. But that could just be me being biased,
Not only being biased, but again, it's a different era. It's a different fan out there today. Do you talk with Vickie Guerrero at all? Because I know there was a lot.
Yeah, she worked with FTR. She was their manager. They came to Mexico a couple times last year, and she did an incredible job. I'm very close to Vickie because I've known her since before she married Eddie. This is how close me and Eddie were.
That. Yeah,
she was like a cheerleader at a baseball team, and he used to go and pick her up, and I would be riding with him because I'd spend the day with him when I went down to Juarez and crossed the border to El Paso, because we go train together and eat and stuff like that. And Eddie, at his bachelor party, there were only 3 guys there, and I was one of them. So that's how close we were. But yeah, I get along real good with Vickie.
Well, that's great, because I know there was some turmoil between the family there, and
there's always been turmoil. I mean, there were years where Chavo, the brother, didn't talk to Eddie, and Mondo didn't talk to Chavo, and Eddie didn't talk to this guy, and
but everybody loved Hector.
Yeah, Hector's he brings no drama. The other guys do. And Chavo was my idol when he was in LA. But I heard that they got into a fight over something with his daughter, and who do you believe in that case, right? You don't know who's because nobody's going to say, hey, I was wrong, or I'm making this up, or it did happen. Nobody's ever going to say that. Everybody's always going to give a cover story and defend themselves. So it's like nobody knows really what happened unless you were there. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want to make an opinion. So I have no clue what's happening, and I love Vickie to death. I really didn't. I knew Sherilyn, which I think is the oldest one, when she was a little baby, because they had her in Mexico, and then I met her at Eddie's wake. But I really don't have any relationship with her or her sister. Okay. But I loved them, bro, because I loved Eddie, and I loved their family, and I loved Gory, and I loved his mom, Elenda. I loved all of them.
Yeah, they were a great family. I got to meet all of them except Gory Sr. We made, do you remember the magazines, we made Chavo Sr. the $1 Million Rookie.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't remember that. But I do remember this. And you'll pop. So when you first walked into Eddie's house in El Paso, because he lived with his parents, okay? So when I first went into his house, you look to the right, and there's a photo of his dad doing a bridge, okay? And on top of him, he's got like a piece of wood. And on top of the piece of wood is like his wife, Chavo, Hector, Mondo, and I want to say Eddie, while he's doing a bridge. How awesome is that?
Wow. Yeah. I think I may have seen that photo somewhere back in the old Inside Wrestling archives. So before I let you go, my 2 favorite lucha libre people were masked. Oh, by the way, when the Mil Mascaras, Rey Mysterio. You see, I have the mask there. That's the mask.
Yes, I did see that. I did see that.
Mil wore at Madison Square Garden when he debuted, and this is the match that Rey got the mask back from Dean Malenko, and he gave it to me and my son. So both of them in their prime, in the ring. You're the booker. What's the finish?
Oh, in their prime.
Yeah, both of them in their prime.
Where's the match held?
Mexico.
Wow, that is a very, very tough question.
1 hour draw?
I don't think Rey would have a problem putting over Mil, but I'd put over Mil.
Okay. I just what did you find it unusual, by the way, when Rey was slapping the face with the luchadors, when Rey was in WCW and they took the mask away from him?
Did I do what?
Did you find that disrespectful to
it was disrespectful for the simple fact that, to me, what got me the hottest was the stipulation of the match. So it was Kevin Nash and Scott Hall against me and Rey. I had nothing to do in that match. Neither did Scott Hall.
I remember.
But yet we were in the match. But here's the worst part. Rey loses his mask. Scott Hall doesn't lose anything. Kevin Nash doesn't lose anything. It Miss Elizabeth's hair.
Right.
It's like, what logic does that make? You're already making fun of this. You know, nobody thinks that she's going to take her hair off. Yeah. And this is what I told them at the time. I said, you have Rey Mysterio. You have Juventud Guerrera. Second generation wrestlers. Both rookies of the year in Mexico. Both around the same age. Both revolutionizing wrestling. Put them together in a mass versus mass match. You know? But they went the other way.
Yeah, yeah, because people still wonder if that was kind of a slap in the face to all luchadors.
They were ignorant of Mexican culture. How would they know? They don't hang around Mexicans or know anything about lucha libre. So I'll let them pass on that. But at the end of the day, they had me there, and they should have come to me and said, "What do you think of this?" But as much as I fought it, they fought me back. You know, and I think in hindsight, they know they were wrong.
Okay.
But let me ask you a question, real quick question about Mil Mascaras. Two questions. When you were around him, would he take off his mask? And two,
he did with me when I first saw him in Florida when he was working for Eddie Einhorn. He was in the swimming pool, public swimming pool for the hotel there, and he was without his mask. I mean, he was with his brother, and I knew it was him because of the arms, and I could tell by the eyes it was him.
Right.
So yeah, he did that. But when he came up to the office and met Mr. Weston, my mentor and the publisher, who had been in the wrestling business forever, he wouldn't take the mask off there.
Yeah.
Mr. Weston said to me, he said, "You can take it off. You look too Mexican with it on." So he would not take it off.
Wow, that's incredible. Yeah, he wouldn't take it off in front of me for a long time. A lot of the wrestlers like that, the Mexican wrestlers back then, they wouldn't take off their masks. There's still a couple that they come into the dressing rooms, not that many. There's probably maybe 8 left, but they still come into the dressing room. They don't take off their mask.
No, I tell people he looks like a young Alberto Del Rio.
Yeah, he's a very good looking guy, very vain, by the way. How did you get along with him?
I got along great with him. We had him on the cover all the time.
I know, bro, that I loved it. That's how I fell in love with him.
People always used to talk about him. We have 5 minutes left. People used to talk about him and say, well, he wouldn't do the job. Oh, me no do the job. Hulk Hogan didn't want to do the job. None of the major stars wanted to do the job. You don't shoot Superman with the silver bullet, as they used to say. He was protecting his character, and a lot of people took that as someone who was not nice to deal with, but he was protecting himself. That's the way I looked at it.
Well, the next time that we talk, remind me to give you some Mil Mascaras stories, because I have quite a few. Okay. He was incredible. But I just want to say, Wonderful Willie, thank you for having me on your show.
Where can people find you?
Do you know him? Do you know Wonderful Willie?
I do, David, but before we do that, where can people find you on social media and hear your fabulous podcast?
I'm only on Twitter. I don't got time for anything else. Okay. And I'm at KONNAN 5150. Chops it up there with whoever wants to come and chop it up. And then we've got my podcast, which is called Keeping It 100 with Konnan and Disco, and that's on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon, Apple, Disco everywhere, Inferno, basically.
By the way. Yeah.
Disco Inferno, yes. Toucan Sam himself. He's on there, very long-winded but entertaining. And come check out our show, bro. We talk everything from wrestling to sports to the pop culture, everything in between.
Willie. You asked for Wonderful Willie. Wonderful Willie is back, baby. I taught Dusty Rhodes how to speak, if you will.
Right.
The belt is still here, Konnan. And if you want to make that one-time comeback in an office anywhere in the world, come get some.
Let me tell you, I have a title you don't know about.
Which one is that?
And I'm gonna this is gonna be title versus title.
Well, go for it.
And usually I've never done this on the road. It's called the Jack in the Box drive-through title. It's a title that I defend in the Jack in the Box drive-through.
Yeah.
Okay. First, you have to buy me a munchie meal, which is those meals they have at night when you have the munchies.
I know what they are.
And I've never taken it on the road. Is there a Jack in the Box near where you're at?
No, there is not. They're out of business here, but there are great Taco Bells.
White Castle? Taco Bells?
White Castle's gone. That was my favorite hamburger.
Really? Really? How is that possible?
I used to tell my kids they're the best, worst hamburgers in the world.
Right. They are.
I buy the frozen ones. I still eat them.
Yeah. They're great if you're drunk, if you got the munchies, if you're high.
Listen, real quick, because we only have 2 minutes left. When the guys would finish wrestling at Sunnyside Garden in New York, in Queens, there was a White Castle next door. Antonino Rock and these people would get on the interviews. Well, you have to take care of yourself. You have to eat well. You have to do this. And then right after the matches, let's go get 100 White Castle burgers.
Yeah, I don't know what was about them. They were very,
belly bombers.
like potato chips or peanuts that you just can't have one. You know what I'm saying?
We called them belly bombers.
Belly bombers.
So,
all right, my friend.
It's so good to talk to you again and see you.